Well, good morning, folks. It's about 7 a.m. the day after I did this pour. And I'm going to do this next video in a lot of segments to move it along a little faster if I can. So if you recall, when you last saw this, everything was wet. I had just spread all the epoxy on it. It was taped all the way around. The only thing I did this morning when I came in the shop was remove the tape, because that's a tedious thing. It takes me about 15 minutes to carefully remove the tape. And I like to do it before I get an absolute hard cure on the epoxy. So if I get an overrun on the tape, I can still get it out. But I did want to just show you how it came out immediately after the pour. It looks pretty shiny. It's cured to the touch, but it's still got a little softness, and I could shove my fingernail in it. But I wanted you to see how the edges looked, and I don't know if this is going to focus up or not. I get a little ridge up here. Maybe that helps you see it. This is where the tape held the epoxy back, and that's exactly what I wanted. The surface finish looks great in this video, but it's not, and that was expected. I even mentioned that. Here, let me show you, change the light, and you can see some of the blotchy spots. This is where the epoxy soaked completely into the wood, excuse me. That's to be expected. That's why you can't do a single pour, dump it out. Here you can see one spot where the tape actually did get soaked through with epoxy, and I can't get it off. I'm going to cut that a little bit, but we'll get it out. All these, and again, you can't really see it, but there's a feather edge here that sticks up, kind of like surface tension where it wicked up the tape, which is what I expected. So all of these are going to be sanded down and shaped to match the corner of the table. But that's the plan. That's the way I wanted it. The screw holes filled in very nice. There's no bump or anything like that. Again, it's very hard for the camera to focus, but so anyway, there you go. This is just the morning after. Also, remember that spot which you saw from this angle in the previous video. There was a spot right here in the corner where I said I had a little dry spot, and I wanted to pull the tape back and let it flow in. So that flowed in and filled that up real nice, maybe even a little bit too much. Oh gosh, it's sleeting like crazy outside. So anyway, that's all going to get, now I have material there. This I'm going to wait until it gets rock hard, and then I can sand it just like it was wood and bring it down and shape it. I just have to be careful not to be too aggressive, so I get the shape I want, but I don't take it all off. So that's that. This whole top will be sanded down next time you see it. By the way, the little coin that I put in there that was recessed is now all dead flat across the top. There were a few sanding waves in this top. They're all kind of smoothed out now. So the next time you see it, this is all going to be sanded down, and we'll do the flood coat and cover the whole thing. Let me see if I can back up a little bit here. So there we are. It's a snotty day in the Catskills. I'll be doing some sanding on this, but probably wait until either tonight or tomorrow to really do a proper job when it's good and hard. So that's the first part of the next episode. See you in a little while. Okay, good morning again. Don't know if I show up in this frame. Another short piece of this video. It is again the day after my last video. Client came in yesterday and took a look at the bar, but by the time he got here I had already sanded, oops, sorry for the shadows, and gotten it down. and did some polishing. You remember I pointed out that corner. Had that all done. I had, obviously removed the tape, as I said just a few seconds ago. And this is all now sanded pretty well flat. Got some low spots in there. That's also part of the purpose of that first coat. And I taped it up. And I wanted to take a minute and talk about taping here. It's very critical when you get to these stages that the tape is pressed, cleaned all the way around, and you have to look at the entire perimeter to make sure the meeting edges are what you want. If you want to leave a little pocket, you put a little loop out there, and make sure the bottom is sealed so you don't get leakage. In the beginning, you get a little drip here and there. You're going to wind up resanding anyway, so it doesn't matter. Now I'm getting down to where I don't want to mess up those adjacent surfaces. So you have to be very careful, and it takes me, maybe 20 minutes to make sure I've got this taped up right. And for instance, here you can see I left a little bit here of gap, but it's pressed down tight on the outside, nice and smooth, and that will allow a little bit to build up in there. I can do a little more sanding and polishing to make that corner nice and round. Every time you go over it, you sand some more, you see another spot, you make a note, put a little dab of blue tape on it so you can find it later, go back. Now everything is sanded out. You can see, I'll use this as an example, not to show you the logo, but this is dead flat now on top, and it's got a little bit of haze on it. That haze is all going to disappear. Everything has been wiped down with mineral spirits. I decided not to wait until my shipment comes in Monday or possibly Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And I've been up since 5:30. Ran out to Home Depot this morning after I finished taping, and I picked up a gallon kit. More expensive than I would have liked to have spent, but here, let me show you the product I'm using, because I'm sure this will come up at some point. I use something called, put it light here, glaze coat, which is made by Famo Wood. I buy this at Home Depot, and I like this for top coats because it comes out very clear and shows everything through quite nicely, and it's held up well. So I have a good history with it, and I will use the cheaper stuff for like the pond fills and stuff like that. It gets covered later. There isn't much haze, provided you are very careful with the mixing and the application and everything is clean. Human error can always cause more problems than the product itself, but this works quite good. It has a very detailed mixing instruction. This is a 1 gallon kit. Sorry about that. Shadow. Yeah, less shadow. How's that? This was a 1 gallon kit, which means 2 half gallons, and when they're mixed 1 to 1, you wind up with a full gallon. This runs about $70, give or take a penny plus tax, and it's done very well for me. I've been using it for about 4 years now, and I'm kind of happy with it. So I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to go up. I'm going to mix this stuff up, and we will be back directly. Stand by. Okay, we're back. Once again, I have about 30 seconds left to stir this. I do like this stuff. When it mixes up a lot clearer than the less expensive stuff I buy, and the less expensive stuff is still expensive stuff, so I'm not cheaping out. It's just a choice to get less bubbles in this stuff. This product that I mentioned at the beginning of the video also has a very reliable curing time as long as I keep the shop over 60. And even though the temp's been in the 30s at night, my stove's behaving and doing very well. So I've been able to keep the shop in the mid 60s, and cures go very well, which is why I am pouring now instead of maybe tonight. Before I start mixing, I make sure I have everything ready to go. The taping is done, and especially for a finish coat, you don't want anything going wrong. So my scrapers here, I have a little acid brush in case I have to touch corners or something, and I also have a 2-inch brush in case something really goes wrong and I need it, rather than run upstairs and get one. So everything's good to go. I'm just gonna clean off my stirring stick here. Waste not, want not. Trying to get this done fast and early, which is why I was up at 5:30, I think. Have to take my wife up to my daughter's house a little later in the morning for a little birthday mom-daughter thing. So I'm going to take advantage of that. Swing by if I see if I can catch Hoppy quick at his TP. Maybe he's working today, maybe he's not. But my daughter doesn't live very far from Hoppy. They two are friends, and it only takes me a minute or two to swing past his teepee and see if he's there. Hoppy makes some really nice stuff, and he has a YouTube channel, by the way. I see he hasn't put anything up in probably close to 2 years now, but neat guy. Go check his stuff out. You ought to see the carvings he's doing now. It's one of the reasons I'd like to stop by and maybe get some pictures. Harvey's been chainsaw carving bears for years. He also does pumpkins and other things that strike his fancy. He's highly skilled, wonderful artist, and makes beautiful stuff, and he's fun to talk to. Has a different perspective on the world in general. Might get this up on the edges very carefully. Don't want to push it over the top of the tape. Creates all kinds of issues. It's still March here in the Hudson Valley, so temperatures are down in the 30s at night, and then sometimes they hit the 50s. I am looking forward to, oops, I gotta roll my sleeve up. Just about 2 weeks or so, I'm headed down to Georgia to see some of my forestry forum friends. And been watching the weather down there. They had a high of 80 yesterday. And we are going to be a long time before we see 80 degrees here. A little bit at a time here. Oops. No lumps, right? No lumps. There we go. With this bright sunshine, which is a little uncharacteristic, but I'll take it. It's a little hard for me to see what I'm doing because I got some real heavy reflections coming in the windows of the bay door. Yeah, this comes up a little lumpy, but all that's gonna smooth out. Another reason reason I want to do this now. If I do this and I have to be forced to leave, once I'm sure everything is okay and I have no leaks, then there's no movement in the shop, no dust gets kicked up. I mentioned in the previous video, or the first clip of this video, that I had hoped to maybe pour last night. I also mentioned that the client for this particular piece came by to look at it. He brought a electric bass guitar with him he's refinishing. So we played with that for fun yesterday and took the old finish off and messed around with some what ifs on a new finish. But in the process of sanding all that stuff off, and it had what appeared to be a heavy lacquer thinner on finish on it. That fine sanding dust from taking off that lacquer covered everything in the shop and floated in the air for hours. So I opted to not do any finish work on this table, because that stuff will be settling probably 12-15 hours. So I let it go overnight, kept the shop temp up so the slab stayed warm, and we're good to go this morning. I want to get it right up against that tape. Sometimes I pull it right into the tape. I know you're just getting a good shot of my forearms, probably my belly button, but at least you don't have to look at my face. And once again, you can't see it, but I can, boy. When I look back down this table, I see lumps and marks from all my scraper stops and starts, but that'll come out. I get that the way I want it. A little more. You know, I was so stressed out over doing what I hope is the final pour on the bottom that I completely forgot to set myself up with a backup project for the leftovers from this pour. And I may actually have some, because this doesn't soak in like that first coat does. And I have about the same amount of epoxy in this pour as I had in the first one. Maybe a little bit more, just because I oops when I was pouring. Another note about this particular material: the manufacturer's instructions say to mix equal parts by volume, not by weight. With the other stuff, I do it by weight because it's worked for me. But I took a note this time. I poured just about 7 ounces by weight of one part into a cup. And then I poured the same 7 ounces by weight into another cup, the exact same size. I put them side by side, and volumetrically, they were way off. So when I evened up the weights, it turned out that one cup weighed a full ounce, almost exactly more than the other. So there's a reason you have to, which obviously changes the mix quite a bit. So there's a reason you have to follow the instructions, do what they tell you, otherwise your mixes are not going to be right. So let that be a lesson to everybody. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. Relax. Just trying to do one long evening pass here. Get that edge all the way around. Make sure I hit that tape. Getting that edge is critical because it's very hard to see in the tape, especially with all the reflections. Okay, screw that up. Take some more of this ring over here. The other thing I forgot to pull out, but it's handy anyway, is my torch. So now, get it in the light, take a look, see what I have. I've got pretty much full coverage, little drop, doop. There is no soaking in spots anymore because it's sealed. All I have is marks from the scraper. And, well, I'll try and show it to you. I don't think you can see it, but there's a bunch left over in there. So I am gonna need another project to finish this off. Let's get that torch. This would not be a good time to run out of gas, would it? I see tiny little microscopic bubbles that get released from the epoxy when I do this. They come right up and pop almost instantly. Since it's sealed, I don't have to worry about any outgassing from the wood. The coat that you saw me do the other day, that sealing coat, I actually had a couple of spots where I had bubbles coming up out of the wood. Little holes that were so tiny I couldn't even see them. And that's why you do it. You know, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that. Holy cow, this is nice. Yeah, a little bit here and there. Again, you don't want to overheat this material because then it cooks, and that is not good. Oh, there's a dot that I completely missed. Man, it's so hard to see when everything is shiny. Ooh, that's it. That was almost too much. And then I'll just flatten that lump out with the torch. There we go. Yep. Oh, beautiful. Another dot. And this is just where there's some surface tension on the previous sanded finish. And the epoxy just didn't quite spread. And a little heat with the torch to thin it out, and it excuse me, flattens right up. So let me stay there. Give you a quick tour from my point of view, and we'll end this. So that's kind of what it looks like here. You remember this wood was pretty yellowish white. Now it's got a much more subdued color, and this is why the client chose not to add any stain or anything. He wanted natural wood, and you can see we got a wide array of hues in here. This is where the tree was just had some, the bark was probably rotten and it was getting a little moist underneath. I have to be careful when I sand that section, especially early on, because it's a little softer, but the epoxy seals that all up and makes it all nice. So there you go. That's what we got. This is hopefully a final bottom pour, and shouldn't take much to finish this off, and then it'll be ready to get the legs put on. I will drill holes, a couple of rows of holes, and put in steel inserts into the table, and then the legs get screwed to those inserts. So there you go. Let me go do a quick panic to get another project going and get it poured. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.